Hollow footfalls echoing through empty corridors. The primal reaction of flesh brushed by an unseen touch. Shadowy figures slipping between the moss-covered boles of ancient trees. Strange calls issuing from not quite human throats, piercing the stillness of the night. Unusual lights and objects streaming across darkened skies. Stolen minutes and a void filled with obscure and disturbing memories. These occurrences and more are called by many whispered names in many countries around a world we believe we know so well. All of these things share a common thread. I'm Charles Romans, and welcome to the pathways leading to the Shadows of Legend. Hello, welcome to Shadows of Legend. I'm your host, Charles Romans, and today we're speaking with Michael Jones. He's a reptile and tarantula aficionado, and he has some stories about the strange and the paranormal that he's going to share with us today. So how are you doing today, Michael?
Doing pretty good. Thank you for having me.
Well, that's good to hear. So how long ago did you first start experiencing incidents of the strange and the paranormal?
So from what I'm told, it goes all the way back to like years old, and I'm 26 now.
Yes.
So the first instance I'm told was I told my mom, like, hey, my sister's hurt. My sister's nowhere around. She's at school. How would I know? Later that day, my mom asked my sister, did you get hurt at school? And she's like, yeah, someone pushed me over at school on the playground. And he's like, I'm nowhere. How can I know that?
Yeah,
but my sister's like 7 years older than me.
And see, that
so it's not like
be,
that twin connection.
Right, yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Are you very close in age or twins or anything like that? Because there's been a lot of documented things where twins can feel each other's pain and things of that nature.
Yeah, which is like my first remembrance of someone telling me, yeah, we've experienced weird things in our family. And that was like my first occurrence. Because like even my mom has experienced this weird stuff growing up as well. So I like to think there's some family history that we don't know about that kind of got pushed under a rug.
Well, that's quite possible. And you say that she experienced this when she was at a young age.
Mm-hmm. And we still do to like this day. Because like my most recent experience was last Saturday. I had just walked upstairs and I looked down the hallway and I saw someone walk down the stairs. And I was like, okay, mom's walking down the stairs. Go into her room. No, she's in her room doing stuff. I'm like, I thought you walked down the stairs. She was like, no. I'm like, well, someone walked down the stairs. I saw a shadowy figure walk down the stairs.
So of course,
from like,
this begs the question, are you certain that there was no one else in the house that could have cast that shadow?
Yeah, because it's just me and my mom in the house. Because my dad had just passed away in November of last year.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, thank you. And when all this was going on, there was one night they came home from the ER and they had just walked downstairs to get him something to eat. And I just see this little orb go across the hallway. I'm like, there's never orb lights. Because I thought it was maybe headlights coming out from the windows in front of the house. I was like, no, it was a perfect orb shape. So that makes me think, was it a family member watching over him for the time being? It's just one of those weird things that was like the most recent thing to happen, ghost-wise.
Now, of course, that would involve spirits. Do you have any other instances of the strange or the paranormal that you care to talk about?
So I posted in a Mothman sighting group.
Yes.
Originally, this had started back in June. We went to the West Virginia State Penitentiary in Moundsville, which we later found out when we got there is one of the more haunted places in the United States. We didn't know that. We were just going up there for a reptile show. And then when we get there, I'm like, there's a chair, there's the gallows still. I feel perfectly fine. And I was like, we're leaving the state prison. I was like, oh, let's go to Point Pleasant. My mom's like, what's Point Pleasant? I'm like, Mothman. She's like, okay, it's going to add an hour. I'm like, okay. So we drive to Point Pleasant, and the closer we get, I start to feel terrible. Not like, oh, I'm exhausted, terrible. Like headache, pure migraine headache. The closer we got, it got worse. When we enter Point Pleasant, there's floodgates on one of the sides.
Yes.
And I was like, I didn't know that. I've only seen like pictures of the town inside of it, but never outside. So I didn't know there was floodgates. And then we get there, I'm like, I have a really bad feeling about this town. And everyone knows the story of the Silver Bridge collapsing and probably one of the last Mothman sightings in Point Pleasant. But my mom didn't know that. So we go to the museum, still feel terrible. It's just like this whole bad vibe feeling in this town. which is weird because I grew up in Georgia, 3 hours outside of Atlanta,
Okay.
and in the history of the town it was one of the battles of the Civil War. And when we first got there looking for houses, we stayed in an Airbnb of this like old house. It's been there forever. One of the nights, my sister thinks, well, she hears people outside the door walking up and down the hallway and talking. And if I remember correctly, she says she thought she saw someone in the room. And I was like, okay. So my sister has experience with it as well. It's not just a one-off.
Okay.
But then when we get a house in Georgia, the town's called Columbus, and anyone could look it up. And like the Battle of Columbus was a Civil War battle near the end of it. There was one night, like real young, maybe 5, kindergarten, and I go get water as everyone does. I thought I saw someone in the laundry room, and I did. It was a perfect white shadow figure. Like you couldn't tell what it was. It was just a white figure standing there in the laundry room. So I get my water, look back around the fridge, no figure, immediately run to my room. Like, no, there shouldn't be someone standing in the laundry room at like 2 o'clock in the morning who's doing laundry.
Well, I mean, typically you wouldn't see that, no.
No. And then there was one instance where I saw like an old 1800s teddy bear, like the screwed in arms and whatnot.
Yes.
In the backyard where I would play with my Hot Wheels in the mud as a kid does. Then later I went back to the same spot, wasn't there.
Was there a possibility that it could have been carried off by something else?
There is that. It looked like it was sitting there a while. And my mom has old German teddy bears, which if a dog got it outside, I'm pretty sure she wouldn't be too happy because they came from Germany.
Oh, probably not, no.
Yeah, but it's just an old 1800s teddy bear outside. That doesn't happen. Then back to the Point Pleasant, it was just terrible feeling, stomach ache, headache. I could just feel like something bad has happened here, but I knew what had happened. It was just more feeling it. And then the further when we left, the headache and the bad feeling started to go away.
I was going to ask if you felt like maybe you were picking up on some residual energy there. Is that the impression you got?
There was also people there that had just couldn't leave Point Pleasant, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like they were almost stuck there. Because back to me growing up, I was always into this stuff. I checked out the same book every single year in elementary school. It was like an A to Z of cryptids.
Yes.
So that's how early I started trying to teach myself about it was when I was a kid. Like anything Bigfoot, like I'm in. I want to read it. And then the older I got, kids get out of things and just lose interest in it. And then there was a video game, Fallout 76, that came out a couple years ago.
Yes.
And like the main interest point to me was you can find Mothman in. I was like, oh, that's cool, Mothman. I grew up watching like the old History Channel docuseries about the Mothman, Bigfoot, and it's just interesting. It was weird. No one really talked about it. And Mothman is what intrigued me the most for some reason. I don't know the exact reason. It was probably because like how elusive it was. Only sightings where something bad would happen. Back to my dad, kind of jumping around here a little bit.
That's all right.
So June, we went to Point Pleasant. Around October, we found out my dad's sick. He had cancer and a number of other things. And then there was one day I was going to work like 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30, driving down a road. I'm like, why is there 2 big red eyes in the tree? I can never see through the trees. I was like, why is there red eyes? So I didn't think anything of it until like later, until this year. Because a month after I saw the red eyes, like almost to the date, my dad passed away, which Mothman shows when something's bad is going to happen or disaster, as with the Silver Bridge.
So where exactly were you when you saw these red eyes? What state were you in? Were you in Georgia?
No, I'm in North Carolina currently. I've moved around a lot my life because originally I'm from the Pacific Northwest.
I see.
So, weird state. It's just followed along.
Now, to this sighting, and once it was brought to your mind again, were you able to do any research about if anyone else had seen things in this area?
Not really, because I've been trying to look into it. One of the other podcasts I listen to,
yes,
Is it okay if I mention her name?
That's fine. That's quite all right.
Okay, Spooky Appalachia was the one I was listening to, and they had a little episode where they had someone send in like, "Oh yeah, we saw maybe Mothman in South Africa," which is like the furthest a Mothman sighting's ever been. And I was listening to it, and it was right in between the months of my sighting that I had. So I was like, is there multiples, or is there a singular one that gets around? Because there's also sightings in Chicago recently as well, which makes me wonder, how is this possible?
So now, what other details did you remember of the encounter other than just the red eyes?
The thing where people are like, oh, you saw an owl and whatnot. No, when you see a black shadowy figure in trees and glowing red eyes that are huge, people are like, oh, owl's eyes are huge. No, I've seen owl's eyes. They weren't. They were a lot bigger.
Which that's what I was wanting to clarify.
Sitting in a tree, good distance stuff. Yeah.
And what led you to believe? I'm sorry. I was just wanting to clarify what led you to believe that this was a Mothman sighting.
So I didn't really think about it until like late December, early this year. When like I saw red eyes. A month later, disaster pretty much hit in our family.
Yes.
I was like, the coincidence of it being Mothman might be way out there, but there is a possibility because where I live, I've never seen an owl. It's just weird because only problem, like people are like, oh, it's Halloween, it's decorations. No, I don't think anyone has big red lights in a tree like off their property is the other thing.
Well, typically people wouldn't decorate just, I would say, the wilderness around their home if they have, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Yeah, why waste the time on something that's not on your property? Because it wasn't until recent I was like, maybe I did have a sighting and not realize it because how early it was and around Halloween. And I was like, okay, it's possible. And I told my mom, she was like, yeah, you might have actually, considering what happened from Point Pleasant in June all the way to November. It was just random bad feelings, me at work feeling I'm being watched when the doors open to outside. I'm like, it doesn't feel right.
So what other type of encounters have you had? Have these all been like in certain areas, or I guess begun by exposure to certain things, or are these more random and spaced out?
Usually they've been more random and spaced out. It's not one true event. It's like just pure randomness of seeing something. It was something like someone may overlook.
Right. And, well, I mean, our lives are busy and we have a tendency to overlook things.
Yeah.
But what I was trying to clarify is whether or not you thought perhaps that these things were following you, or you just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
From Point Pleasant June to November.
Yes.
It honestly felt like I was being watched, and just someone around. Didn't know who it was. Just I knew someone was around.
And did you feel threatened during this, or was it just the unsettlingness of feeling watched?
The unsettling part, because like the feelings of ghosts being around have never bothered me, and just having this feeling of like I feel like I'm being watched. There's really nothing I can do about it because I know it's not a physical person, but there's someone there. That makes sense.
Actually, it does make sense because a lot of people will report things like a general unease and feeling as though they're being observed, and they can't get a glimpse of the observer. So that's actually a little more common than you might think.
Yeah.
I am curious, though, at any time in any of these instances, did you feel physically threatened?
Not really. It kind of felt like someone was watching and looking out, but at the same time, you're like, the unsettling of someone watching you, what's going on, is something about to happen, but not like physically threatened.
I see.
Like more the feeling of something's going to happen. What is?
So based on that, I have to ask, after these occurrences, was there an event that happened? I know you mentioned your father, but were there any other, I guess, after experiencing it, were there any other events that you might have thought that these were a precursor to?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Because death is random and you really can't stop it or know when it's going to happen. And the yes of something's going to happen. What is it? Why do I have this the feeling of unease and feel like I'm being watched? Someone's lurking around, and then randomly seeing red eyes in a tree. Like, it wasn't like a single tree. It was like a plot of land that had trees in it. So it wasn't like random lights, like I said.
Right. I've got the impression kind of like maybe tree lining the sides of the road or something along that line.
Yep. Yeah, that's what it was. Because usually, you know how in early mornings you can see somewhat through trees,
Yes.
but this was 6 o'clock in the morning, pitch black. Even like the street lights were on, but where the trees were, it's almost like a shadow was over and there was just the red eyes. And of course, when I saw it, like, didn't think anything of it until recently. I'm like, from what I know of Mothman and what's been stated of Mothman, it was like, it's a good possibility, but I know people are going to be very skeptic and be like, you didn't see him.
Well, given the fact that Mothman is considered something of a harbinger, then it's entirely possible.
And it's more of because I feel like if you don't believe in this stuff enough or read into it,
Yes.
you won't know what to look out for. Like, you just overlook it, don't think anything of it. Because, like, right after my dad had passed, the light cover on my fan fell and almost hit me. It's never fallen in the 3 years that we lived in this house. So I just looked up, like, okay, smartass, I see what you're doing. Like, he's still here watching us, making sure we're okay. It's just the whole spiritual, like, spirits thing and ghosts that some people don't want to acknowledge. There was one day when we lived in Georgia, we went to an author was showing off their, like, telling stories from their book, which was about paranormal activity.
Yes.
In this Auburn area, which apparently has a lot of paranormal activity. There's a playground that's said to be haunted, to where you can hear kids laughing and whatnot, and all the swings, the merry-go-rounds will move. Because my sister has actually been to it, and she just flipped out when she went. Like, she did not want to be there whatsoever.
So I know earlier you had mentioned something about several people in your family experiencing things, and you thought that maybe it was a family trait.
Yep.
So what are some of the other experiences that you had as either a family or an individual?
So my mom will occasionally smell the perfume of my great-grandmother, who I think passed away early 2000s. I never really got to meet her, so I wouldn't know what her perfume smells like. So my mom, that's her experiences. She smells the perfume. She'll know when her sister's around, who passed away in November 4 years ago. So now we just skip November for the month now. Since we've had two family members pass away in it.
So, and again, I'll ask, I alluded to this earlier. Do you think that maybe these occurrences follow you, maybe even follow your whole family, or do you just happen to be in the right place at the right time, like in a certain area, like when you went to Point Pleasant, for instance, and felt ill? I guess what I'm trying to...
Yeah, I see what you're saying now. I feel like, yes, it follows, like, all these occurrences happen. It's just the timing when they happen is showing us something more than what we realize what's going on.
So how would a person learn to pay attention to those things?
For me, it's like, in my experiences of not realizing it till after the fact, like, oh, I saw a ghost. Then, like, Civil War ghost, because I grew up in Georgia, and Confederacy and whatnot. And when I got to middle school, that's all I would teach myself about was the Civil War. It's almost more like foreshadowing of what's going to happen. Makes sense somewhat.
Well, in a way, it does make sense because you're just preparing yourself to see what's there, I would think.
Yep.
And some people have reported hauntings and things like that, and it's completely blindsided them. They went to an area they didn't know that had any sort of activity. But do you think that, that preparing and doing research, like, for instance, you mentioned Civil War sites, if you were to research a certain place and know something about the history, do you think that would prepare you better to see what is there?
I would think so, yes. But for me, I would like to also experience the area myself and see what I feel when I go there. Because, like, with Point Pleasant, I knew of Point Pleasant, Mothman, all that, the bridge collapsing. When I go there, I'm like, I feel terrible. And when we went to state prison, I just knew it was a state prison. Shut down 95, and it ran for like 40 years. I didn't realize until we got there, oh, some stuff have actually happened here. So I didn't know what to look out for when I went there. But, like, we want to plan another trip to do one of the tours at night and see what we experience there. I also feel like it's more of a learning thing, so you know what to look out for. So you're just not like, oh, this weird thing happened. Oh, okay, let's go on with our day.
Well, based on that, do you think that a lot of people miss paranormal activity simply because they don't know what to look for?
Yes. Because people will be like, ghosts aren't real. They're fake. Have you ever experienced a ghost encounter? No. Okay, so you say they're fake? Oh, because you haven't experienced, don't know what to look out for. Because we all experience the paranormal activities and encounters differently.
I would think that's a fair assessment because everybody reacts to stimulus a different way.
Yep, because the other thing I want to do is the St. Albans Sanatorium. I want to go do that because I've heard the stories. I want to experience it. Like, is it truly like this, or is it just story?
Well, now, based on, of course, the research and stuff, and you knowing something about an area, do you think there's a possibility that that might actually convince you that you've seen something that wasn't there? Is that a possibility?
No, because with the random ghost encounters growing up, bad feelings like being watched, I know someone's out there, but I just don't know what. Because I feel like with the experience growing up, having ghost encounters, family members having ghost encounters, just weird stuff happening, it's more of did someone like put a curse on our family to where we experience this? Or are these ghost paranormal activities comfortable enough to present themselves to us?
I see. So what other experiences that you had that you would like to share?
So there was one day me and my dad, we were going to hockey practice and we ended up in a wreck. And the young kid, idiot thing, my feet were on the dash, right on the airbag, like off to the side, the door, the AC vent airbag. Majority of the car went into the back was the passenger side, which my legs were. Legs perfectly fine. Looking back, they should have been broken somehow, or at least something should have happened to him. And then my mom's like, yeah, my dad's looking out for you. That should have been a lot worse, because her dad had passed away a couple months beforehand.
So now, do you believe that our deceased family members, based on that, can affect the living and look out for us, as you say?
Yes, because they want to be in the moment and present, and they look out for us and make sure we're safe, or at least try to be safe.
Well, it's a comforting thought.
They can't stop us. They can't protect us from everything. Some bad things are going to happen, but they're going to try to do their best to look out for us.
Is that something that people think that they can depend on, or do you think they're random occurrences? I'm trying to discover how prevalent you think that is. Do you think that happens with everyone, or is it just certain families, like you're saying, your family being sensitive?
I would think it could happen for everyone. It's more of like a random occurrence, because I feel like a specific family wouldn't have this one special like family member constantly looking out for them. The weird thing with my family is we always know when someone's around, but other families or friends who have the same experience, I find a little odd. Like one of those things like, I experience this, so does everyone experience it? But I know there's other families that are probably the same way. It's more of finding them and meeting them and hearing their story as well.
So you can basically compare the stories and see any kind of similarities and differences and things of that nature.
Yeah. What I would experience could be something different from what you would experience. We're not all going to experience the same ghost activities.
So obviously, based on your experience, I would place you in the camp that believes in the supernatural and ghosts and things of that nature. So,
yeah.
What would you say to someone who actually didn't believe in ghosts? Someone who said that there was nothing there but your imagination. What would you say to someone like that?
I would ask, have you experienced anything weird, odd, something after tragedy or something joyful in your life? And if they say no, then they need to experience it firsthand and actually pay attention to what's going on. Because like for me, I won't do horror movies whatsoever, haunted houses. I'd rather go experience like an actual closed down place, area that has history to it, and understand what happened there to see if I would get the same experience or a different feeling when I would go there.
Well, now, based on everything you've said so far, your experience with the paranormal has been, we'll say, non-threatening.
Yep,
but
as of right now.
As of right now, yes. But how would you compare your experiences to people who were actually terrified by their encounters with the paranormal?
I would actually be curious of what they felt and what happened in the moment to make them feel threatened.
Now, you said something about rather than watch like a horror movie or something along those lines, you would rather go visit a place that had history. Have you actually participated in any paranormal research like ghost hunts or things of that nature?
Not yet. It's on the list.
Okay. So you're actually looking forward to going on a quote-unquote ghost hunt?
Yes. And West Virginia is 2 hours north of where I live, so it won't be too difficult. And with being in North Carolina, I'm looking into places. Apparently, there's a lot.
Well, each state shares their own wealth of paranormal, supernatural,
Yeah.
and just strange occurrences. They can be
Yeah.
strikingly similar, but then quite a bit different.
Yeah, growing up in Georgia, experiencing ghost encounters. East Tennessee, my mom experienced ghost encounters when she grew up in her mom's house recently. So, and when we lived in West Tennessee, like in the Nashville area, didn't really experience anything at all from what I remember, because I didn't experience anything paranormal or anything of that matter in that area.
Now, to step away from the actual paranormal, or I guess supernatural aspect of it for a moment, was the one sighting that you believed to be the Mothman, was that your only interaction with what would be considered a cryptid?
Yes, which I find weird it's taken this long, because people will have experience with cryptids at any age, and for me it was 25 years later.
It's like I asked you, did you think that this activity was actually following you or based on the places where you were at? Because there are certain areas throughout the country that have more, I guess you could call them hotspots for cryptid activity, as well as
like how the gates are from like one paranormal place to another paranormal place.
Yes.
Beforehand, not really. Not how this time was. There was always the feeling of someone's watching and whatnot, but after Point Pleasant, it just got worse. And I tell my mom, I feel like someone's watching me while I'm at work. Like right behind my work is just tree. So it'll be like the perfect place for a cryptid to hide.
And is this feeling of unsettling and unease still prevalent?
It's not as bad as it was. It's gone down, but it's still there. Like, it's not like see something out of the corner of my eye, look over, okay, nothing's there, but there's something there. So it just goes away when I look directly at it.
I see.
It's more the feeling and not seeing the presence of someone or something. Like that gut feeling.
People would do well not to discount their feelings, but I mean, other evidence go along with that is always nice.
Yeah, because like today, I thought I saw someone walk out past the door. And I was like, oh, okay, someone did walk past the door. But like earlier in the day, I was like, did someone walk past the door? Someone walked past the door, but it wasn't one of the people at work. So like there was something there, but it wasn't someone from work.
I was just going to ask if there are any other experiences that you'd like to share.
Not that I remember off the top of my head, but from when my dad was in the hospital, my sister came in and she was in the room with him. And under his breath, she heard him say, "No, Mom, not yet," which we told his sister, and she was like, "Yeah, I'll be right over there." And she lives all the way in Tennessee, like Knoxville area, which is about a 3.5-hour drive. So we knew something was going to happen. It was just what's going to happen. Are we going to get through this painfully or not so painful? Because it's more of people will know when it's time. It's just how. And how do we experience the ghost encounters that lead up to something?
And as we covered before, sometimes you need to be aware of it or you may miss an experience.
Yep. It's just why did for me, I feel like I had this experience, but I don't know why until later then look back on it and be like, that's why I had this experience.
So do you think there's a reason behind most of these experiences?
Yes, probably something to put on a better path. Just don't know it yet until later on.
So you think they occur a lot of times to persuade you one way or the other to do something or make a change? Things
or to, either for the good or the better, that you don't know it until after the fact.
I see.
Which probably sounds a little out there, but from my experience, it's been bad and good. Like with the cryptid sighting, ghost sightings, dad passing away. And from growing up in Georgia, learning about the Civil War, absolutely loving history, seeing possibly a Civil War ghost and an old teddy bear that shouldn't be out in the open in mud. Because I've told my mom all this. She knows, and she feels like also there's stuff in the family that's been hush-hush, pushed under the rug. We don't talk about this. Because for years, it's been people always frown upon this kind of stuff. Like, it's not real. You're just seeing things. But I'm actually seeing things that aren't supposed to be there, and they're there.
Well, Michael, I appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast and share your experiences with us. Hopefully sometime here in the future, we can have you back on.
Oh, yeah. I'll be more than happy to come back on.
Well, we appreciate that.
Maybe you have some stories. Maybe you need to be asked some questions.
That's always a possibility. Well, for the moment then, thank you, and you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You too.
This is Charles Romans, and on behalf of myself and our guests, thank you for joining us on this walk through the shadows of legend. If you like what you heard, please follow us and visit our website at shadowsoflegend.com and support our Patreon page to help keep the content flowing. And if you would like to be a guest and share your own brush with a stranger paranormal, don't hesitate to email us and include a contact number. The strange and surreal, the normal and the paranormal are all aspects of the world in which we live. As you reflect upon the stories we have shared, keep in mind that the people sharing these stories are actual, real people just like us. Were the stories shared compelling enough to be given credibility, or should they be relegated to the deeper part of the shadows? But when determining this, it might be a good idea to keep an open mind, because when we look around, we might discover that our own world is less brightly lit than we once thought. Until next time, I'll be waiting for you in the shadows of legend.